Hey guys, Kirk here, and thank you for joining me on a new video on the channel. At the time of this video, I've not posted for a few weeks, and that's because I've been on holiday with my family, or better known as vacation to Americans. But yeah, I've been on holiday with the family, so I've not posted. And when I got back, the internet was down in my area, but an engineer's been out since and fixed it all. So now I am back online and ready to post more videos. Just a little update over the past few months on this channel. We've been working on a big series called Build Worlds, where we built this environment up. I go up like this. You'll see we've built this environment in Gaia, created the landscape material and all this good stuff. If you're interested in that, go and check it out. It's really useful to know and have. But yeah, over the past few weeks as well, we've been working on this water shader. It's not a finished project yet, but then this kind of thing is what you edit when you're close to finishing, so you get the right kind of thing you're looking for. But at the moment we're on to a time where we want to start adding props and assets to our scene to make it look a little bit more believable. As you can see, I've got an asset here from an asset pack in the marketplace. I've got a Quixel asset here. We've got a load of foliage and all this good stuff. With this comes material instances like this. This is the Quixel one. Then this is the rock in the lake material instance. And this one is the river shader we've been working on. The problem with this is they're all different. They look different, and to the untrained eye, even experienced artists themselves will be a bit like, wow, what's this do, what's this do, and what's this do? So in the industry, if you work in the industry in a studio, you'll know where I'm coming from here. In-house, in certain studios, they have their own master material. And with that master material, you have multiple people like who'll create props, who'll create environment assets and foliage and all this good stuff. And a technical artist will make a master material for, say, foliage, then props, and then it'll be like rocks here. There'll be a master material for them. And each person who is using that asset, see, someone will make it, then someone will texture it, and then someone will put it into the environment. So you're talking 2, 3, 4 people who need to create one asset and right up to the finished product. And if they're all using different materials, instances like this, it can be quite confusing and slow down the production speed, which is not good in that kind of environment. So like I say, you get a technical artist who will build a master material so everyone is working from the same material instance, which will then speed up productivity in that kind of environment. It's also good if you're solo like I do. It's good to have a master material where you could just like import a Quixel asset like this, then you might import this rock, then you might import a house, and you can add all these models and assets to one master material instance. And each asset then is working from the same material instance for ease of use. And then with that kind of workflow, you can introduce what are called material parameter collections, which I'll showcase later on in the series, where you can change multiple material instances from one collection. But yeah, so that's what we're going to be covering over the next few weeks on this channel. May go longer than that, just creating a master material for our assets and showcasing different things like distant mesh, near mesh, detail mapping, detail normals and POM and triplanar projection, and all that good stuff will be included. Whether you want to add that to your master material, that is completely up to you. But I am still going to showcase it for the people who might want to use such functions. But this first video of the series is more of an introduction video, where I'm just explaining why anyone will want to use a master material and the good points about it. You don't want to work in different material instances like this. when trying to create a scene. It's always good to just throw your asset in, apply a new master material instance from your master material, and then once you open that, you'll recognize what you're working with. Then you might go to, like, have a little dock here with someone fishing on it. Just click on that. It's the same material instance. There may be a few changes depending on what you enable and disable. So yeah, in this I'm just going to showcase how we're going to work with material functions. In the master material, I'll just do some basic colour and brightness and roughness things, just to showcase how it's going to work from this day forth, creating a master material. First things first, we want to create a new level. You don't want to work creating master materials in the level you're working in. With this amount of foliage, it would dramatically slow down the scene and slow down your machine. So it's always good to have a new level. So in my content drawer, if you click on content drawer at the bottom here, you'll notice I've got a masters folder. This is, I've not created, well, I've created it before this video, but a long time ago. This is where we're going to build our master materials. You can simply just come to your content folder like this, right click, new folder, and what I've done, I've changed the colour of it and added a 2. This just makes sure it's in order here in my favourites folder. That's just a personal preference, you don't have to do that. But I've created a new folder like that. And inside here, ignore the blueprints, don't really need that. I have an important folder where all my generated meshes are from the modelling tools here. And well, there's only about 3 or 4 of them. And I've got my level save in there. And then I've got my materials folder, which we're going to be working out most of the time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get started now and just showcase how we're going to work this with functions and the master material, and just showcase some basic stuff of the workflow we're going to be using over the next few weeks. So I'm going to double click and open our level. I'm not going to save that. And now we have our new level, just let it build. Just give it a second. There you go. Now it's built. You might want to save some bookmarks. So I'm going to save one over here. Left control and 1. Oh no. Yeah, left control and 1. Then left control and 2. In that area, just move your camera where you want it. Hold left control on your keyboard and press 3. And move it across again. Left control and 4. And this just enables me to quickly move to where I want. It's not majorly important that you do that, but it always helps. We're going to close these material instances down. Come to our masters, open our materials folder. Actually no, before I create the material I want to add some assets. So I'm going to enable static mesh so we can see them. I'm going to add this tundra boulder like this. I'll just add 2 for now. I'll just add this. I've got the cylinder. Yeah, I'll just add this cylinder in as well. Make it a little bit bigger. With the series, guys, this is I'm going to expect that you have a basic understanding of how Unreal Engine works. Like, I don't want to be showing you how to change certain things in the project settings. I do expect a bit of basic knowledge of Unreal Engine. This is all about master materials. I've left my directional light here. This is simply so I can just quickly change it on the fly, and then you can check out better your assets. So I'm going to click on this boulder. We'll work with this first. I'm going to click on it, highlight it, press F, it'll zoom me in. If you hold left alt on the keyboard and left click, you can rotate around that asset when it's selected. I can select the cylinder, press F, left alt and left click and rotate. Like I said, we're going to use this boulder for now. We'll just use this as our primary thing while we're building our master material. Okay, so like I say, we're going to showcase a little bit what the kind of workflow we're going to be aiming for. And so I'm going to right click in here, create a new folder. I'm going to call this Mesh Master. And in here is going to hold our master material for a mesh like this. Like I say, this is what we're going to be working on. If I navigate to this 3D asset from Megascans, you'll see I've got my textures here. We're going to utilize these. That's how we're going to build our master material, so it's utilized ready for how Quixel import their assets with these stacked textures. I could also showcase if you have individual textures as well. So yeah, let's get going. Materials, Mesh Master. We're going to right click material. I'm going to put KM Mesh. Oh, wrong one. Master. Right, so I'm going to right click on there, create a material instance. And I'm going to call this Mesh Rock, just for the sakes of this. And I can simply drag this onto our Quixel asset, and you'll see it should turn black because there is no information inside the material. So black is the way it goes. Okay, so that's added there. What I want to do, I'm going to right click inside our Mesh Master folder and create a new folder and call this Functions. Like I said at the beginning of the video, guys, that my workflow and many other technical artists would use functions for easeability and understanding, but all that will come apparent the deeper in the series we get. So let's have a look. So we're going to create a new folder, actually, call this Master Function. You'll see why I open this. We're going to get some functions in here now, so I'm going to right click, go to materials, go to master function, material function, sorry. So I'm going to call this KM Mesh Master Logic. Like so. And before I go anywhere else, I'm going to duplicate this. Instead of having logic, I'm going to put params. Like so. So now I have a master function for our logic, and then a params for our parameters. Like I say, I'm going to showcase how this workflow is going to go. And if I open my master material, we've got that open. With your master material, not the function, the master material itself, highlight this, and because we're working with functions, it's not going to accept this with the base color, metallic and specular and all this good stuff. So what you want to do is change it to use material attributes, so it's just one out pin like that, and we'll just quickly apply that in the master material. We're going to come back to our functions, master function, and then we're going to get the master params that we've made, and we're just going to drag that in there and just leave it like that. That's completely fine. And hit apply. Okay, so opening our master logic function, this is where all the juicy stuff is going to go. Like I said, we're just going to showcase the workflow. So I'm going to right click and make material attributes, and you'll see this make material attributes node is similar to what we had in here, but we're just going to do it inside this master logic. With functions, doing it this way in this workflow, we're going to be using what's called function input. This is probably what you'll see the most of in this series. Very powerful, very useful. So with this, let's add a bit of colour. Let's add a bit of colour in here so we can change the colour of our mesh here. Like I say, this is just an intro, guys. I'm just showcasing how this is going to work over time, but you will get used to it over the time of the series. So for this one, I'm going to call this colour picker. Yeah, that's the way I spell colour. And now I've got that. And because if you hold 3 on the keyboard and left click, this is our colour picker. You should all be familiar with this. You can change the colour. In here you've got a red, green and blue channel. And if I just add a little bit to each one, you'll see I get some random colour. With a red, green and blue, it's a vector 3. So this function input needs to be a vector 3. In the input, type here. You can see if it's a little drop down menu, and you'll see I've got a vector 3 there. Over the time of the series, I'll showcase what all these do. So yeah, so we've got our color picker. What I am going to do with this function input, I'm going to set use preview value as default. And what this does is, outside of this actual whole function, like in the params function here, if there's no scalar parameter assigned to it, it'll just fall back and use this color. So that's what this use preview value as default. So we're going to set that. I'm going to hold M on the keyboard and get a multiply node. I'm going to give this color some brightness. So if I drag off here, you could drag off an in pin or out pin and just type input, and you'll see it'll get a function input. And you'll see, notice there how I dragged off the multiply, and it's automatically chose the scalar parameter input type. You'll get that a lot with input functions. So if I say I get a static switch, you'll see there's a true and false value. If I come to this value here, this is where the switch would go. If I drag off that, type input and get a function input, you'll see it sets it to a static bool, and that's just the way it works in here, which is quite useful if you're unsure of what input type to set the input function to. I'm just going to remove them. So now here I'm going to call this color brightness. I'm going to set this as a preview as well. I'm going to hold 1 on the keyboard and left click, get a vector 1. And I'm just going to set this to a 1 for its preview. We could just drag this into the base color, like so. Also, one thing to take into account with these input functions, you'll see here in the material expression you have a set priority, and this is just basically the order of which you want these to showcase outside this function, but I'll showcase that shortly. I just want to build a bit more logic in here. So I'm going to get a metallic, so I'm going to just type input, get function input, it's a scalar parameter, we'll call this metallic. So, and then maybe roughness. I'll change this roughness up a little bit. How shall I do this? I'm going to set this default value. We'll use 0 as a default. So, that's just that. Like I say, guys, this is just a basic understanding of how this works. So I'm going to hold L on the keyboard and get a lerp, left click and get a lerp in. I'm going to put that into our roughness. I'll wait there. I'll right click, get a static switch again. We'll throw this into the true statement. That'll go into the roughness. That's our metallic, yeah. Okay, so in here, we'll drag off the A input of our lerp and get an input function. It's got a scalar parameter, which is great. So in here, I'm going to put roughness min. I think it's min or max. I think it's max actually, for the top one. If I duplicate this, change that to min, like so, pull that into the B. You can leave the constant alpha of our lerp at 0.5. That just means it's directly down the middle. We would plug in a texture into that, but we've not got any textures in here yet. So as a false, I'm going to drag off the false of our switch and put input function. It's chose a vector 3, but we don't need a vector 3. Sometimes it will do that, but we can simply hit the input type and change this to a scalar parameter, and we'll just call this roughness, like so. Yeah, we'll use the preview, hold 1 on the keyboard, get a constant 1 vector, and what we'll put in here is something like, we'll do a 0.2, like so. That'll give us a bit of a roughness value. Okay, so off this value of our switch parameter node, we'll drag off here and get an input function again. And you'll see that it's like before, earlier in the video, it's giving me a static bool. So in here, we'll put enable detail roughness. Like so. And for this, even though it's the preview's not set as a default, with a static bool you do need some of them to have a preview, so we'll drag off that preview in pin and just type bool, just get a static bool and you'll see our error has gone. Like so. Okay, so this is all I'm going to use for now, I think. So what we've done here, we've got a switch parameter where we can enable detailed roughness, or if it's false we're just going to use a normal roughness value. And then we have our color picker and brightness and our metallic. But this is just a little bit of basic logic where I want to showcase it. I'm going to hit apply. If I come to my master parameters here, I open this up, and our master logic material function that we've just been working in, drag that into your master parameter params function, and you'll see now all these are exposed. So all these red input functions are inputs for this function. So in here all your inputs exposed of your logic. One thing that I am going to do is I'm going to order them up. So color picker could be 0, brightness can be 1, metallic can be 2, roughness can be 3, 4, and standard roughness is 5. They don't matter because if it's true it'll show them, if it's false it'll just show that. And this can be 6. Okay, so if I hit apply now on that, you'll see in my parameters section that it is in order now of what I want. So I can simply drag this to the output. Alright, so we'll get this error, that's fine because we've got no parameters here. So if I right click on here and just promote to parameter, and you'll see we have our parameter for our color picker and our color brightness, promote to parameter. There you go. I put them two together, call this color. To get this text box, sorry about that. To get this text box, you just simply highlight what nodes you want and press C on the keyboard. It'll put this box around it and you can name it. After that, metallic, promote to parameter. We'll set this to normal like this, and then roughness max. And this is the workflow we're using in this series, guys. Sorry about this. Let me just sort this out quickly. Just roughness standard. So, and then roughness boolean. Okay, so if I drag them together, highlight them, let's call this roughness. Remember, highlight the parameters, press C on the keyboard, it'll give you this comment box. There's my metallic. And there you go, and now we've got our parameters here. You can set the defaults. I'm just going to leave that at red, well no, yeah, red. The brightness, the default, I'm going to set as a 1. We'll come more into these parameters and everything else over the duration of this series. You'll pick it up. Metallic, I'm going to leave at 0, yeah. Roughness max will be 1. Roughness min will be 0.3. And the roughness value itself can be a 0.8. And then we'll leave that default value as it is now is false. If you just hover over it, you'll see it's just false. If you enable it, it's true. Okay, so let me just explain what we've done here a bit. So this is our master logic here. This is where all our logic is going to go of our master material. And believe me guys, it's going to be like this. Maybe not that big. Probably like this. And the last thing you want to do in this kind of workflow is to be coming in here and changing all the parameters like sieving through all of them and finding your parameters, and that's why we create an extra function and call it parameters. Your logic's in there, and you can just have all your parameters in one position like this, so it's a lot easier to change. If we come to our actual master material, you'll see that our params function is here. And with this now in our master material, if I want to add something like a distant mesh function, I can put it here. You can even use a switch parameter. Where are you? A static switch parameter. I'll just blah 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 in there. So you could add another function. Like this is our base function. You might have another one here and call it what? Pom. And you could use this, say use pom. Put that into the function true. If it's not true, just go straight into false like that. But like I say, I'll showcase that throughout the series. If we just throw this into here now, hit apply. Just quickly save this. And you'll see now we've come to our asset and it's all red. If I come to this material instance, if we open this up, you'll see all the logic and the parameters we just set up are all here. We can just enable all these like so. And this is everything we just enabled. In the parameters, like I say, you can set the groups up, but we'll do that over time over the series. And you have all your logic here, and then you have your master material, which then filtered down into your material instance. And you can come down here, right click on your master, create a new material instance, and maybe set it to blue. I don't know, it's up to you. But yeah, I've got a brightness value here now. Change this, you can see the red is getting brighter. I set this to 10, 0, 1, 0, 2, 3, 5. And you could set that to 1. You can set a metallic of 1, like so. And it doesn't look like there's any kind of reflection on it, and that's because there isn't, because we've got a 0.8 of our roughness. If I put this to a 0.1, you'll see there's a bit more of a metallic look onto our asset. Like we did there in the logic, you'll see we created this switch parameter for our roughness. So at the minute it's set to false. If you highlight it on the material instance, it's false. So we're just using this roughness, which is here. If we set this to true, you'll see it'll get rid of this roughness and add the max and minimum. And you can change this to ever what you feel fit. Like I can increase this minimum to maybe a 0.6, and it'll just touch up on that roughness. Even though the metallic's set to 1, with the detailed roughness you can add a bit more roughness look to it. But yeah, so let's just have a little explanation of what we're doing. We've built our logic in here. Let's close this material. Well, we'll just move it off. So we've built our logic. This is where all our technical logic is going to be. And then we'll save that and we'll put that logic inside our parameters, and then all our parameters are separate from all the logic, and then our parameters function goes into our master material. And over the course of this series we're going to have at least 10-20 different functions. You can come in here and just add them in here, or you could just put them in here anyway and just use switch to turn them on and off. But keep in mind that will increase your instructions because the shader will still build that function. But I'll explain that more into the series. But this is just the kind of workflow we're going to be using throughout the series. In the next video, we're going to build up this function ready to apply our textures for our Quixel asset here, and just do a basic setup of our material so we can get this looking like it would do with the normal material from Quixel. Okay, so if you found this video informative and you're excited to what's going to be showcased on this series, then hit that subscribe button and like button, and I'll see you in the next video. See you later.